Welcome everyone to tonight's Parsha class. We use the Kliyakar, and it's Parsha Matos Maseh. It's a double Parsha, but we're not going to deal too much with the second part. And I want to mention that tonight's class is dedicated in the memory of Yosef Ber ben Esther and Chaim. Tonight is his yahrzeit, the anniversary of the passing, the first passing. He passed from this world to the next world, and we want to elevate his soul. So we're going to do that, our part, through learning tonight on his behalf. Okay. Deep breath. I've been running the whole day. I'm so glad to see you all on Skype and here in the live audience. And we'll get started. So, in Parsha Matos, that's chapter 30 of Numbers, we're dealing with the second verse. As you know, the first verse is really connected to the last chapter, and we all know why the numbering system is off. That's just another proof of that. Verse 2, this whole beginning is really going to be dealing with vows and oaths. Nedarim and Shavuot. Okay? So, I'm going to be a little bit relaxed, and we're going to go through this systematically. It says, Moses spoke to whom? He spoke to the heads of the tribes of the children of Israel, saying, this is the thing that Hashem has commanded. And then we're going to talk about what happens when a man takes a vow to Hashem, or swears an oath to establish a prohibition upon himself. It sounds like, it says, he may not desecrate his word, which means what? It sounds like he must do exactly what he said he was going to do. He swore, or he made an oath not to benefit from a certain store in town, or not to benefit from a certain type of clothing. I'm never going to wear wool or linen or cotton or something, whatever. It could be someone who says, I'm not going to eat any more wheat products, only rye. So that thing becomes forbidden to him on a Torah level. But then the next thing says, according to whatever comes from his mouth he shall do. At first glance, it certainly seems that means he should not desecrate his word. He made a vow, and now, because he spoke it, he has to do it. That's simple understanding, and we'll leave it at that for the moment. Now, what if a woman takes a vow, or whether she's married, or if she's single, in her father's home while she's in her youth, she's not married. So what's the story there? So we're not going to go through it now, but we all know that if the father or the husband hears, the day he hears, doesn't mean he heard her say it, and it doesn't mean it's the same day she said it, but apparently once he hears her say it that same day, he can nullify the vow. He can say, it's nullified. I don't agree. I mean, we're going to try to deal with the mechanism behind that. I mean, God said it, so we can just accept it, or we can try to get to the bottom of what is really going on here. Okay, so if we turn to the Kliyakar. I did bring as attachments what we do as Jews on Erev Rosh Hashanah. I copied this from the Rosh Hashanah Machzor, from the prayer book, and it's called the Annulment of Vows. Everybody comes together on the morning before Rosh Hashanah, and we all annul our vows. We sit in front of a Jewish court of 3 men. We'll see who these 3 men are, and we make this declaration that all the vows that we made, and it uses a lot of different types of words to describe the things that we might have said or done to make something forbidden. Anyway, we come and we annul our vows, and then 10 days later on Yom Kippur, the last page is Kol Nidre. This is like the holiest day of the year, right? Yom Kippur. And this service, even the most assimilated Jews, I shouldn't say the most, but people that are close to being the most assimilated Jews, they all come to synagogue. If it's like just one day a year, that would be the day. That would be the night. Okay? And they are doing a service called Kol Nidre, where it's another nullification of vows. We're going to talk about that a little bit. So let's get into the meat and potatoes of the Parsha. So it says, Vidaber Moshe el Rashi Hamatos. God spoke to the heads of the tribes. Right? That's what we saw. So why is it so important when we deal with laws of vowels, not vowels, vows, right? V-O-W-S, oaths, that God needs to command the heads of the tribes, and then it goes on and says, this is the thing. I mean, that's like, I don't know, it doesn't sound very professional to me. This is the thing. This is the thing. So I don't know what the thing is yet, right? Do you know what the thing is that God commanded? And then all the laws of vows. So the first question the Kliyakar asks is, Ma diber el Rashi Hamatos? What did he actually say? There's something missing here. So to the children of Israel saying, whatever he said to them, he was telling them that they have to tell it over to the Jewish people. So what was it? This thing. Whatever this thing is, that's what it is that they're supposed to tell over to the Jewish people. Are you guys intrigued yet? I mean, come on. Well, you were there. You were in one of the classes, so you already have a little bit of an idea. But we don't know what it is. So he goes on and says, Daber el Rashi Hamatos. This is what the Torah is telling you. Moses spoke to the heads of the tribes, Sheyomru Eza Davar Livnei Israel, that they should say over something. The word something and the word word is the same word. In other words, davar, davarim are not just word or words, but they're also things. So perhaps that's not even how you translate. Speak over this word. Tell them something. Tell them this word. Tell them these words. V'lo peresh adayin, ma yomru Rashi Matos el bnei Israel. But you know what? At this point, it was not yet explained. It was not yet explicit what it was that, here you go, that he was supposed to tell over to the children of Israel. Lo peresh adayin ma yomru Rashi Matos el bnei Israel. Ad, until when? Shehigi lehem parshas nadarim. You got to remember, this is not the first year, maybe it's not even the second year. We don't know when this is taking place, but it certainly could be taking place early on. Right? There's no date here, and we know that the Torah is not necessarily in order. So this information is very important when you're in the desert for 40 years. Inflation. Oh, what's the problem?
9 days. 9 days.
Ah. Came late. All right. Until he tells over to him the whole Parsha, this whole story dealing with the laws of oaths. That what did he tell them? Shechayev rosh hamatel lemor el hanoider. That the head of the tribes, each head of each tribe, is obligated to tell over to the person who's making an oath, muterlach. Muterlach, muterlach. What does muterlach mean? It means it's permissible to you. That which you took upon yourself to forbid is now not forbidden. It's permissible to you. Why would this whole scenario take place? Why would someone go to the head of the tribe and have their vows annulled? Good question. I mean, if I made a vow, right? I say I'm going to not eat spaghetti anymore with the cheese. Then I'm forbidden to eat spaghetti with cheese for the rest of my life, right? But if I desire, I have some I regret, right? I can't believe I said that. I mean, that would be a good reason, right? Spaghetti with cheese is pretty good. I mean, we're talking seriously. So when people make vows, they make those vows with either a conscious, well thought out decision, or have you guys ever made vows? Could be when you're angry. It could be when you're upset and your head is not calm. You're not calm at all, but the first reaction is, I will never blank, 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 okay? So perhaps somebody was angry. Let's see what he says. Zuhi amiras shesiva l'roshei matos. This is what you should say over and command the heads of the tribes. Sheyomru livnei Yisrael. They should say to the Jewish people, Mutulach, mutulach, mutulach. And why is that? Didn't we see, if you look towards the end of verse 3, it says, he shall not desecrate his word. Lo yachel divaro. He should not desecrate his word. Now, you know us guys, these Jews in Jerusalem, these Israelites, they take the word really literally here. So guess what? This means he shall not desecrate his words. But, hu atzmo lo yachel, he himself should not desecrate his words. Aval acherim machilin es devaro. But it is permissible, and perhaps even advantageable for others to desecrate his words, meaning to release him from the vow that he took. Va'al ze amar. This is what we now understand the rest of those words in that verse, which says, according to whatever comes out of his mouth he should do, kekol hayotze mepiv, all that comes out of his mouth. Whose mouth? The head of the tribe, the wise sage, who now permits it to him. I mean, this is absolutely fascinating. Without the oral law, without the oral Torah, without a deeper understanding of what we were taught for 40 years in the desert at the Revelation, you would have no clue. You would make a vow and you'd be stuck for the rest of your life. But this is the Jewish tradition. I showed them before you walked in, that we, on Erev Rosh Hashanah, on the back page, look at the last 2 pages. We know our vows, and the truth is that's just the general. If one made a vow and they want to get out of it, they put together 3 people, and they sit there, and they annul the vow. And on Yom Kippur, we do it again in the Kol Nidre ceremony, which is the highest of highs, the holiest of holies. It's unbelievable. If you guys never been to a Kol Nidre service, and with preparation time to learn about it, you're angelic. You're angelic. I mean, you are pure soul. You know. So what is So when all that comes out of whose mouth? Out of the sage, out of the wise people that are sitting there, who say it's permissible to him. They matter to him. Ken ya'aseh. That's what he should do, and that's how to read it. Im lekayem o lahatir, meaning that based in doesn't automatically say it's permissible. They evaluate the situation. They have to understand a lot more than what I'm able to tell you now. But basically, we're trying to find out if the person understood all the consequences, fully understood what he was doing when he forbade something upon himself. Okay? We talked about Yiftach back a few weeks ago, and he said, I don't know exactly the words right now, but whatever comes out of my house first will die, or I'm going to make a korban to Hashem. And unfortunately, it was his daughter, and he could have annulled the vow. Okay, he didn't, but that's an example of how tragic it could be. You know, I mean, if you're trying to lose weight and you say, you know, I'm never going to eat X again, and you're healthy for your whole life, but you realize that if you make a mistake once, it's called a sin, because you added to the, remember, there's another problem you have to deal with. The Torah itself says you're not allowed to add to the Torah, you're not allowed to subtract from the Torah. And yet, what did I do? I added something to my life. I added a mitzvah, right? I added a command, a law, a restriction that the Torah did not. But the Torah allows it to happen. We know that by a Nazir, someone who says, I'm going to be holier, I have a drug addiction, I have an alcohol problem, or I have a vanity issue, and I want to fix it. The general rule is, we always want to go to the center. The best way to live your life is along the center. But for some reason, if I swung my pendulum too far to one extreme, the Rambam says, how do you get to the center, which is the goal, to live a very centered and balanced life? I have to go to the other extreme in order to come back to the middle. The goal is the middle. One day you're going to eat meat. Anyway, so here we go. That's the goal. So if I have an issue with any of these things, I may have to, in order to fix myself. But a regular vow usually is 30 days, at least by a Nazir. And there's other types of vows that if you didn't specify, or you did specify, it's going to be much longer. Okay, so that's how we start off. We start off with totally realizing we don't know what the Torah is even talking about, according to the way we read it, without a Masorah, without an oral tradition. Clear as day, everybody? Great. So verse 3 says, Ish ki yidor neder laHashem. Notice that the word, or the root of neder is used twice. So because it's used twice, the Kliyakar, in his typical fashion, will tell us there are two types of vows. Okay? Ish ki yidor neder laHashem. As we read in the English, if a man takes a vow, but that's not really what it says in Hebrew. Ish is a type of a man. Ki tidor neder laHashem. Okay, so I have a mistake on my copy, but it means tidor neder. Okay, fine. So that word is used twice. So what do you want? He wants to tell us. Shnei mine nedarim heim. There are two types of vows. Ki hanoider bekaso. There's a type of a vow where someone would swear out of anger. La'asur al atzmo eza davar. To forbid upon himself something. Neder zeh eino laHashem. This type of vow is not a vow to God. Eino laHashem. What kind of vow is it then if it's not to Hashem? The dafka ish ki yidor kishu ish. Only when the person is acting like a human being, a man. You know what I mean? I'm not talking about male, female. I'm talking about a human being. Only when a man, when you're acting like a human being, that's when that type of an oath, that type of a vow. Meaning the yushav vedato, that I'm calm of spirit and of mind. That's when we call, now if you go to Vayikra, chapter 5, verse 4, so you can find that in this source sheet. That's number 2. It says, or if a person swears, expressing with his lips to do harm or to good, whatever a man, this is the point, whatever a man may express in an oath. So who expresses oaths? Men, human beings. If you swear out of anger, what are you? Are you a human? You're acting like an animal, right? Listen to what he says. Because it says, when a man, ha'adam bishavua, v'hu noder laHashem. It's only a man that can make an oath to Hashem. Aval hanoider bekaso, but someone who makes this type of an oath, a vow, out of anger, after we read this verse in Ecclesiastes 7:9, it will become even more clear to us. Ecclesiastes 7:9 says, do not be hasty, don't be quick with your spirit to become wroth. What's wrath? Anger. Let's look in the Hebrew. Al tivahel beruchecha likos. Why? Why anger? Ki kaas v'chi kasilin yenuach. For wrath lies in the bosom of fools. I have to sneeze. Thank you so much. I love the blessings. Do not be hasty with your spirit to become wroth. For wrath, right? Anger lies in the bosom of fools. So he wants to tell us at this point that im kain eno ish. If you're angry, you're not a human, you're not a man, but what are you? The nimsho kebehema. You're compared to an animal. Okay, guys, this is getting heavy. You know, like, it's life-changing, right? We're going to change our lives. We're not going to get angry anymore, right? So the rabbis tell us in Gemara, huh?
Don't swear.
Here's another interesting idea, that you cannot swear, it doesn't work, to swear to forbid anything that you already accepted upon yourself at Mount Sinai. For example, if I swore right now never to eat pork, it's an oath in vain. It's a vow that's meaningless. Why? Because I already swore 3,300 years ago. You can't, if I swore right now, I'm not going to eat spaghetti with cheese, and then 10 minutes later I made another swear, I'm not, an oath, I'm not going to eat spaghetti with cheese. What happened the second time? It was like, what are you doing? You just made the oath 5 minutes ago. What, it was null and void, you made it again? It was absolutely nothing. It was worthless. So I can't take a vow to keep the Torah, because I'm already locked in to that vow that I made 3,300 years ago to keep the Torah.
You're that young?
Isn't that amazing, guys? Okay. So where are we? So Chazal actually tell us, listen to this. I mean, what do we think about people who take vows and fulfill them? Right? We think of them as like, hey, you're like the man. You made the vow and you followed through, you should get a medal. Isn't that how we think? The Gemara, the Oral Torah, tells us, Sapru b'gnut hanoider, that the rabbis denigrate. We have a better word? They don't look highly upon people who make vows. In fact, you know what they say, and this is what we're going to investigate. The one who makes a vow, shehanoder, the one who makes the vows, ki'ilu bana bama. It sounds like Obama, but it's as if they built an altar, a high place for themselves. Okay? The word bama. It does sound like Obama, doesn't it? Okay. Anyway, it's as if they built a altar, a high place for themselves. And wait, it didn't finish there. It goes on and says, the hamikaimo, and one who actually fulfills his vow. No, what are you going to say? Give him the badge of honor? No. Ki'ilu hikriv aleha. It's as if he offered a sacrifice upon it. Now, what's the problem with that? Wouldn't you say anybody who builds an altar and builds a sacrifice on it, he's a good guy? Give him the Medal of Honor. No, because once we had the tabernacle established in a certain place, and once we built the temple, it became forbidden for a Jew. Now, a non-Jew can still build an altar and make sacrifices to God. In fact, my friend Yom Tov Glazer, he said to me, what if I woke up tomorrow morning and found I wasn't Jewish? The first thing I do is build an altar, sacrifice to God, and then convert. That's what he said. You know, most people say, I go out and get a cheesesteak, Philly cheesesteak, a cheeseburger, eat some pork, some shellfish, I don't know. He said, no, I'm going to go out and serve Hashem in a permissible fashion like a non-Jew would do, build an altar to Hashem, make a sacrifice, and then convert. Beautiful, right? So what's the problem here? So the problem's like this, that once the altar is established in a place, everybody has to come to Jerusalem. You can't put your own barbecue in your backyard and make sacrifice. You can make, July 4th special, all you can eat, whatever, right? You can do that. Right? It's okay? That's not okay? Why not?
Not Jewish.
Not Jewish?
Not Jewish.
Well, we have a lot of gratitude for the Constitution of the United States, and that it gave, it's 200 and some years for Jews to live in freedom. But they're all coming home. They're all going to come home.
All you can eat.
All you can eat. Okay. So, what do we see here? We see that it's problematic. That's why they're saying that it's a degradation. It's actually problematic. And he wants to bring a proof to their words. If you look at Rashi, Rashi brings down, it says over here, Zeh hadavar. I mentioned to you already, where it says, this is the thing. What thing? What does it mean? Remember, we said it means, davar means a word. But there's a thing called a gezerah shava. It's one of the 13 hermeneutical principles. And if I may say, exegesis. That's the 13 hermeneutical principles. That's what it's called. And one of them is a Gezerah Shavah. What's a Gezerah Shavah? It has to be learned through tradition, not something that we did with Strong's concordance, but we have a tradition from our rabbi who learned it from his rabbi all the way back to Mount Sinai, that this word appears here in Tanakh, in the Torah, in the 5 books, and this word appears in the 5 books. And even though they're not related, and the paragraphs don't even seem to relate to each other even in content, there's a related halacha. There's something shaykh, something related to here, to there, and vice versa. So if that's true, he's saying over here in our Parsha Matos, that deals with Nadarim, and it says Zeh Hadavar. And guess what? Sacrificing offerings outside of the temple, if you go to Leviticus 17 verse 2, and 3, if you go to your handout, and it's number 4, it talks about there, b'shchutei chutz, it's a sin to offer for a Jew. Once the temple is built, once the tabernacle had found a resting place, this is forbidden to offer, to slaughter an animal and to offer it up on an altar outside of the main compound where the temple or tabernacle is. And how do we see? Look at the verses. Leviticus 17, 2 and 3. Speak to Aaron, to his sons, and to all the children of Israel, and say to them, this is the thing. You only have 2 places in the whole Torah. This is the thing. And it's right here. The Lord commanded, saying, any man of the house of Israel who slaughters an ox, a lamb, or a goat inside the camp, that's fine, or slaughters outside the camp. So there's, if you look at the whole verse, I didn't bring the whole verse. It's too long here. The whole paragraph, you'll see that it's forbidden. So you see that there is a Gezerah Shavah. Okay, you know what a Gezerah Shavah is? Now you do. I just told you. It's where you have one word here, one word there, and the rabbis compared the two for halachic purposes, but it has to be from tradition and tradition alone. It's not that I look through the concordance and on my own decide, although the Kliyakar here is going to make his own Gezerah Shavah. But I don't, the only reason he's bringing it, because he calls it a Gezerah Shavah, but you'll see what he says. He says, V'omer ani. Now the Kliyakar begins to speak. You know what I'm going to tell you? Dun mina. You can learn one thing from the other. Malahal and bama, just like over there. It says, when I say over there, we're talking about that verse that we just read. Because Chazal, he's making like a rabbinic Gezerah Shavah. That's what he's doing.
That's why it's not Gezerah Shavah.
Okay.
You see, that's not.
It's not, but he calls it one. Okay. Okay. So it's like, in other words, an imaginary one that you can use your, intelligence to come up and realize it's not a real Gezerah Shavah, but because it's not handed down. But he saw it, and what does he see? We're talking about in Chazal. They say if you make the oath, it's like you're making a bama. A bama is a high place. If you look in Isaiah 2:22, it says, withdraw yourselves from a man whose breath is in his nostrils. Now, who's that talking about? It's talking about someone who's angry. Whose breath is in his nostrils? Chidlu. Look at the word chidlu lechem min ha'adam. Stop yourself, cease yourself, withdraw yourself from a man. Asher neshama biapo, whose anger. Why? Ki bameh nechshavu. It's real. The verse says, like, it's a question. What is he considered? What is he actually considered? But if you look at it's a vowelization issue. Change the vowels. Ki bamahu nechshavu. The man, out of his anger, he's right. Stay away from him because he made himself into a bama. It's as if he made himself into a high place. You see it now? And look at Rashi on that verse. Withdraw yourselves from man, not to heed those who cause you to stray from following me, fine, whose breath is in his nostrils, whose entire life and strength are dependent upon the breath of his nostrils, which is a fleeting spirit. In him today and leaving him tomorrow. Surely the image of the moles and bats have no substance. This is the explanation I think I wanted you to see. Withdraw yourselves from all the evil ways and learn from a man who has a soul in his nostrils. Have you seen to what he is esteemed? Surely the image of his handiwork is of no esteem. Okay, so that has many levels of meaning, but I wanted you to show you that that's one particular meaning. Okay, so now we're back in the text. And he says, Malahal and Bama, just like over there you have the word Bama, so too here, Afkan Bama, meaning ki shechutei, anybody that slaughters outside of the temple, outside of the compound that you're allowed to slaughter in, Hainu Makriv Bama. You know what you're doing? If you're slaughtering somewhere and offering up an altar, that's called slaughtering on an altar outside the temple. Zehadavar, so too, now we have the word Zehadavar, that's speaking here about someone who swears, makes an oath, and we're referring to him, the Dabir Makriv Babama. We're saying that he's also, the one who makes the oath, is also building his own altar, and Kihanoider Dom Mekilu Banabama. And that's why Chazal is able to say that one who makes this oath, it's as if he builds himself an altar. Now that's just laying the groundwork. When he says Tamu Shel Davarhu, it means he's going a level deeper. The reason for the matter is like this: Sheyarda HaTorah L'Sof Das HaNoider, that what falls in the end, what comes to be in the end of the Torah, the Torah is revealing really what's happening in the. Let's just use the word that means the truth. What comes down, the truth is showing you, in the end, what was originally on the mind of the person who made the oath. So if he actually fulfills the oath, we're going to see it means that he was of calmness of mind and spirit when he made it, and we'll see what attitude he must have had. Whereas if someone was with an attitude of anger, a feeling of anger, what happens when we all get angry? We all have shame and regret. I can't believe I said that. I can't believe I acted that way. Right? I never would have. I shouldn't have. And that means a healthy regret. That's part of the tshuva process. Right? We repent. And then you can go to the rabbis and have your neder annulled. I shouldn't say annulled. Because we're going to see the difference in annulling. Is it annulling? No, it is annulled. There's what's hafir? Okay, what I'm trying to say is, one is
uprooting it. Uprooting
I think annulled means as if it never happened.
Never happened.
That's hafir.
That's hafar.
That's hafar. Whereas the matir is a releasing. You are breaking the need to continue in that way. Fine. So he says, what happens at the end? It's like the token that falls into the jukebox or the phone. It reveals. So what happened? Then you can make the connection. Kihu oiser atzma, what did he do? He forbade upon himself mashikola oilam no hagin bo heter. When someone makes this vow, he's forbidding upon himself something that's permissible to everyone else in the world. Everyone can have spaghetti and cheese, except for someone who's lactate intolerant, right? Everyone can have it, unless you're flacic, right?
Also.
Huh?
You can also. There's lactate.
Oh yeah, they have pills, right? Okay. But what you're doing, by doing that, what are you doing? He says, Mistama rum levavo, hisio mikol ha'eda badel. Most likely what's happening, this is the psychological insight, that the person is so elevating himself, he has such a haughtiness about him, such an arrogance, that he's raising himself above the congregation and separating from them. You have the whole world, the congregation, the community here, and this guy, everyone's going out for spaghetti and cheese, and he's left at home. You know why? Because he can't have spaghetti and cheese. He made a vow, right? He's separating himself.
Isn't the point of making the vows is in order to make sure I don't go further? So I'm controlling myself. I'm putting control.
The Torah permits you something, whatever it is, and everyone is doing it or is allowed to do it, and you have now separated yourself from everybody. You invented a law, which is not a problem because the Torah allows you. Okay, to forbid something. Like you added another mitzvah, another isser. The Torah already gave you enough forbidden things, and you add it to the list. He's telling us the psychology behind a person that does this is arrogance. The hoitzi et atzmo min klal. He removed himself from the group, from Am Yisrael, from the general population. Ubederek zeh, and in this fashion, metzinu lashon Chazal, we find the rabbis speak this way. For example, in the Masechet Chagiga, the Gemara 22a, Shelo kol echad holek uboine bama la'atzmo. It's not proper that each person just go and build their own altar for himself. Ki kol ze derek geya v'gaon. This is the way of the haughty. Kamosha Amru Chazal, like in Gemara Sota, uses the very same language. Ki kol mi sheyesh bo gasut ruach. Anybody who has this coarse spirit, in this sense we're talking about a haughty spirit, it's ki'ilu bana bama. It's as if he built an altar for himself. And look in Isaiah, and now you understand also part of where he came up with that Gezerah Shava, but look in Isaiah 2 verse 22. So we did that already, okay. So go back to the verse again, because the word chidlu, remember the word chidlu lechem min ha'adam? Is that the verse? Mm-hmm. Yeah. Mm-hmm. It says over there, we read that already, but he says that this is what the Gemara actually says. I think I discussed this before with you guys. There's a thing called a kri and a ktiv. The way it is read, right? We have the Tanakh. We read, we know grammar, right? God taught us grammar. He taught us how to read it. He taught us how to read it. And then there's a way to write it. Sometimes they don't jive. Even though it's written grammatically one way, we may find ourselves, because of the Masorah that we received at the Revelation, to read it a different way, which means they're both correct, but there's more than one meaning in the word. The way it's written has one meaning, and the way it's read has another meaning. This is like, you cannot do this unless you have the oral Torah. Okay? So, he says, this is where we got the word bameh. He says, don't read the word bameh, as we see right there. It's number 9 on your source sheets. For in what? Bameh means in what? But read it as an altar, bama. And now read the verse as he says, cease yourself away from a man whose breath is in his nostrils, because, not the word esteemed, nikshav could mean esteemed, but it really means considered. The word consider. He considers himself a high place. Drives home that whole idea of this arrogance. You follow? Okay. So back to the Kliyakar's text, and he's using that verse, and he says, Al tikre bameh ela bama. And what's the relationship? First of all, ma inyan hagas ruach el haboine bama. How do you relate this person with arrogance to building a high place? I mean, for me, it's kind of obvious. But if you didn't get it, he says, Elavadai shemitzad gasus rucha hu bone bama la'atzmo. Certainly from the aspect of his haughty spirit, he built this bama, which we say is a high place for himself. V'chein bama lashon gavoa. He actually has to tell us the word bama means a high place. In every synagogue, you have a place where the Torah is read from. It's like a mound, right? And we call it the bama. It's the bima. The bima, and also in German, it's a similar word. So you have that also. A bima is the bama, is the high place where you put the Sefer Torah and you read from it. It's like a big stender. It's a big table. V'oto derek geya v'gaon mitzoi b'bon bama. And we know that same attitude, the way of, I'll use the word extreme haughtiness, extreme arrogance, is commonly found by that person that builds this bama, this high place. Matzugam hanoider. This is also commonly found in people who make these vows. Ki mistama kivanato. Most likely, his intent when he made this oath, כדי שיהיה מוחזק בחסיד uparush. Yes, he wanted to strengthen himself in a very pious and a separate type of way. He wanted to separate himself. Ach, now that could be a positive thing, but not always. Ach yesh makom lomar. However, there is a place to add a statement, to say this. Noider bekaso yokiach. The one who actually swears and makes this oath in his anger, ki mestame bekaso lo niskavein l'shem yuhura. He's bringing it down now to earth in a very clear psychological way. That most likely, if you made this vow in anger, your intent was not out of arrogance. It was out of anger. Arrogance and anger. V'tzarich ata lechalek bein hanoider mitok yishuv hadat ubein hanoider bekaso. Remember, originally he said there were two types of oaths. This type, he says, this oath, you have to divide into two different categories. One type is where you made this vow within a calm mind and spirit, and the other is where you made this vow in a fit of anger. And how do we know? Remember, if you are one of the judges who are going to release this person, or you yourself, we just want to know, how do we know the difference between somebody who swore out of anger or out of a calmness of mind? Ki'im neder bekaso, vada eno doime lebon abama. His claim here is that only if you swore out of anger, you made the vow out of anger, then you're not considered like the person who made this altar. And then it says, what about fulfilling it? Right? You made the vow, and then you fulfill it. We said it's even worse. It's like you're doing a slaughtering of a korban outside of the temple compound. He wants to give a clear sign regarding this. And what is that? And this is a statement. Anything that a person does, behaves, performs out of anger, mistame kishoch hamatohu bo lidei charata ve'enu mekaimo. If he did anything out of anger, as soon as he's able to calm down and the wrath has left, he comes to a state of regret and he will not fulfill. He doesn't intend to fulfill. He's not interested in fulfilling what he swore when he was angry. That's because he has regret. But what he should do, he should go to the sage, he should go to the court, the Beis Din, shiyachelo, and they should release him from his vow. That's why it says, if a person made an oath and doesn't fulfill it, he has no intent to fulfill it, go and ask the rabbis about your oath. They'll realize, and you realize yourself, that it was within anger that you made it, and you have a proper, healthy regret. This is not a case where you build an altar for yourself. As Chazal say, this is in Psalms 95:11. I don't know where it is. Oh, here it is. No, I don't. Where is it?
Six.
It's number 6.
Yeah.
Asher nishbati bi'api im yavun el menuchasi. For which reason I swore in my wrath that they would not enter my resting place. Okay, so what do we see from here? Asher nishbati bi'api. God himself swore in anger, and what is? He has regret. Right? Wrap your head around that one. right? For which reason I swore in my wrath they would not enter my resting place, and yet we have. So if you swear out of anger, it can be released. We see that. It's heavy, right?
Who did it? Who released God from his...
Tell us.
I have no idea. I don't know. But he did it.
He could release himself.
We're here to prove it.
He can release himself. Bi'api nishbati, in my anger. Remember, af is nose. It's an expression. The word kas does never appear by God, by the way. It's not real kas. God never has anger. Kas. He has expressions of anger. The nose, we say the wrath is a heating up or a facial expression or, right, heat coming out of the nose. But it's not kas. Notice that. So he says, not only did I was angry in my oath, v'chazarti kashoch ha'af v'chema. When he calmed down, right, he had this the release. But someone who fulfills it, the eno bo lidei charata, he doesn't come to any type of regret. He went ahead and he fulfilled it. The eno nisholav, he never went and is not interested in asking the rabbis to release him. Sofa mochiach shemitoch yeshuva das neder. It proves the end, what he originally had in the beginning when he made the oath. V'choshda oto haTorah sharum levavo. So the Torah is concerned for him, for anybody who's going to become so arrogant. V'hiziu lidei midazu, that he'll come to this horrible character trait. Shalachach et atzmo l'tzad acher, that he's going to go ahead and take himself all the way to a different character trait that's not healthy. It's to an extreme. That's why it's warning you. Not only did you make the vow, which is like building a bama, but then you went ahead and you fulfilled it. You went ahead and you did, and you slaughtered upon it. And what's happening? The kimu, right, the fulfillment of the vow is gamar dato. It shows you what he really had in mind from the very beginning. Kamoshe krova tachlit binyan abama. Remember, when he built that bama, that he built that high place, what his real intent was. When we make a vow out of anger, our intent is not to fulfill it. We never had, and we have regret, and we go and we get it released. But the guy who had a calmness of mind and spirit, totally like research, and then made this vow, he's truly arrogant. His intent.
He's truly arrogant?
His intent was to fulfill it.
But then he would be totally arrogant? I think that's the opposite.
What do you mean?
Because here it is, that he's keeping his word. No, he's keeping his word. That shows that has,
so why is Chazal telling us the person should never make the neder in the first place? Once you make the neder, you should fulfill it? Perhaps.
Okay.
Perhaps.
Okay.
We're talking about the attitude of making the neder to begin with. That was,
we're talking about the person that's well thought out.
Why does the nazir, well thought out, and it might have been the most healthiest thing, right. He is an alcoholic. He's like 30 days of, what do they call it? I forget what they call it.
Culture.
They call it off the truck, something like that, off the road. I don't know. I can't read your lips. I know you're saying something. Off the what? Off the donkey? I don't know.
No idea. Robert, that's good. What's the word?
Nobody's talking now. Okay.
No, but he's the right person.
But Chazal does not when you make it to begin with, and therefore they go ahead and explain it as not only building a bama,
but for sacrificing.
V'zel masik sham b'Gemara, and this is what's brought down in the Gemara. Says Shmuel. Okay, so thank you very much for your input. Now let's see what Shmuel from the Gemara has to say. And he says, Kol hanoider, you know this Gemara, right? It's in where is it? He doesn't bring it down. I guess it's in Sota or Hagiga? Nadar. So he says, Kol hanoider, anybody that makes a vow, I mean, you got to be like sitting down for this. Like, it's really hard to believe, right? But this is our oral Torah. Nikra Rasha. Anybody that makes the vow is called evil. Mikra, we want to know, why is he called evil? Now go to Deuteronomy 23:23. I actually wanted to bring it in context, so I quoted 22 through 24. But in Deuteronomy, there's number 7. When you make a vow to the Lord your God, you shall not delay in paying it. For the Lord your God will demand it of you, and it will be counted as a sin for you. The verse he wants you to see, just look at this one verse. But if you refrain from making vows, you will have no sin. The next verse, observe and do what is emitted from your lips, just as you have pledged to the Lord your God as a donation which you have spoken with your mouth. But that one verse in the middle, just out of context, in context, however you want to look at it. The ki techdal lindur, anybody who ceases from making a vow, lo yebecha chet, there will not be in you sin. What's the inference? Anybody that doesn't cease from vows is a sinner. We have a nickname for sinners. We call them evil. Rishoyim, Russia. Okay, it's pretty hard to swallow, but this is the word of God. What can you do? You hear what I'm saying? Heavy stuff. And it's also written, okay, I can skip something. Therefore, he's going to say, Yalfinin chadla, chadla. We saw that, remember the verse over there with Bama. We also have the verse we just read here. Because the verse here that I highlighted was ki tekdal, linda, when you cease from making an eder. So he says, the ki tekdal over here and over there in Job, it says, okay, here's another verse. It's in Job number 3, chapter 3, verse 17. And what does it say? There the wicked cease from anger. Sham Rishoyim Chadlu Roges. So the wicked cease from anger. But the word chadlu, the word cease. So there is the Gezer Shav. 1 second, let's see what he says. Nira Lomer, it seems you can say, Din Dun Mino Mina, you can do the same thing like Gezer Shava. Mala Halad, just like over there, Bechadlat Harogez Mishtai, when you cease from anger. If you're angry, you're not a Rasha. It's when you cease from anger, you're a Rasha. You see what he's saying? When you're not angry and you make the vow, you're a Rasha. When you're angry and you make the vow, you're not a Rasha. You have charata, you have regret, and you go and get it taken care of. Afkan bechadlat harogez. So too, you have the same thing where someone's making the oath not from anger. Ki eno nikra rasha ki beofen zed. The only time you're going to be called a rasha is when you cease from anger. Shechavar chada ragzu. Already cease the anger. Afal pikein hu oimei benidro. Nevertheless, he still stands firm in his vow. The eno nishlo olav, and he doesn't try to get rid of it and release from it. And what happens then? Igla milsim mafreya. It is a revelation retroactively. What his original intent was when he made the vow. Shalom mitot kas neder. He was of sound mind and body when he made that oath. Ki kavar nishta shir zman chadlata haroyez. Because even if he was angry, but now he's not, already passed and remains a certain amount of time that he could have ceased from his anger. And so he's not angry and he's still holding by what he made the vow. That's called a rasha. Al ze amar sham rishoyim. There is evil, meaning to say, hu nikra rasha. He's called a rasha kishechad la'arogez. When his anger is, he ceased from being angry. Okay, einenu legamre. Im kein vaday mitok yishuv adas. If that's the case, certainly, when the person made the oath with a calmness of mind and spirit, kedei livnos bama le'atzmo, he did it in order to build a high place for himself. Al kain hamakaimo nikra rasha. That's why when he fulfills it, he's called a rasha. Kidera geva. This is a way of an arrogant person. And now he says, I need moisif od gezer shava. I am going to add another Gezerah Shava. Leilef Chadla Zumin. Add, learn it from the word of Chadla, ceasing, from what we saw before. Chidu lechem min adam. Cease yourself from being around people. Asher nishama biapo, who's angry. Why? Bama nekshav, because he considers himself like a bama. And then over there, malahalan bama afkan bama. Okay. Zeu shamar kan. Now we understand what it says over here. Ish ki yidur neder laHashem. It says when a man will make a vow to God, a double language of vow, shu ish ben nidro v'shipoi bedato mitok yishu vadas neder. When he was a man, when he was calm, in his oath, where he had a calmness of spirit, and it was within a sensible time, he wasn't angry, he made the vow. Regarding this, the Torah is coming to tell us, Kekol hayotzin mipiv yaseh, according to all that comes out of his mouth, he should do, ki ein soifo lavo lidei charata, because if the person was of calmness of mind, what do we say is going to happen? He's going to do it. He's going to fulfill it. So he must fulfill. Once he gets in the position where it's too late, he wasn't angry. So yeah, he's going to end up fulfilling it because he doesn't have any regret. But where we say the guy was noider mitokas, he made the oath, the vow out of anger. Hu amar v'lo yaseh. He just spoke, but he is not going to end up doing it. Why? Because he's going to go to the rabbis when his anger has calmed down, the Omer, and he says, Neder laHashem, right, when he makes a vow to God, that excludes, L'ma'esh lo yidur l'shum yora, this excludes anybody that, how do you read this? He didn't make the oath, the vow, for the sake of arrogance, to build himself a bama, but rather he swore for the sake of God, and that was the other type of oath. Now, we said that lo yachal devaro, he should not desecrate his own words. And we mentioned that others may what? Even the word desecrate. I don't like necessarily the word desecrate. How does he translate it? He uses the word desecrate. The word chal, like there's a couple levels of it. We call the intermediate days chol hamoed, and after Shabbos we say, bekodesh l'chol. Chol means mundane, and as opposed to kadosh. It doesn't always mean desecrated, but when you're taking something out of a holy status, right? And the word holy means separate, and then chol could mean mundane, meaning it's like for everybody. It's not separate. You can turn off the air if it's too cold. So we used to do in Study Torah when the groups from college came, and it was really, and they weren't dressed very modestly. We turned up the air, and they all were asking. We just happened to have a bunch of shirts in the closet. They're long sleeve shirts, and we passed them out. Okay, anyway, back in the good old days. Aval acherim machilin devaro. In other words, others may make mundane. He made them holy. He made some separate. So I don't know if desecrate is really the only definition here, but understand the word is more mundane. It could mean mundane, but it could mean desecrate. Tam lahatir darim beyachid muncha. You know that the reason that you can go to have your neder released, right? You can go to one sage who's an expert on vows, or 3 hediotot shenikra beistin, or 3 regular people. Now, normally a beistin consists of real judges that know the laws, and they can't be related to each other, and they can't be related to any of the litigants. But when you are coming to release your vows, they can all be brothers, and they can even be your brothers. That law does not apply there. Anu lemeidim min hafarat ha'av v'habal. Now, we're learning this idea. if the father and the son also, they're not a Beis Din, they're one person. They're one person. We're going to compare them to the Beis Din. In other words, normally you have a choice. You want to get your vow released. You can either go to one real rabbi or 3 friends. Okay? We're talking about related. We're talking about the father or the husband. They're related in normal case, and he has the same ability as a Beis Din because he's going to annul the vow. And we're not reading it now, but if you go through, as we said in chapter 30, the rest of it in the beginning has to do with the father and the husband. What is the mechanism that gives them the right or the ability to release, or in this case, as if the vow never happened? Listen to this. Kishem ha'ava ha'bal, just like we know that the husband and the father can release, l'chach yesh biyadam lahafir. The Torah itself says they have the ability. A single person who's even your relative, they can annul the vow. Mitam shekol isha bereshus bala o bereshus aviha. Now, before I translate this, I want you to know it's not what it sounds like. Okay? The reason is that every woman is in the authority, under the authority or in the possession of her husband or the authority or possession of her father. Now, what does that mean? Let me try to explain it outside. My daughter decides, I'm no longer wearing polyester clothes. I don't like them. I'm going to make an oath. No way. I'm never, ever, ever putting on polyester clothes. And now I have to buy her all silk. I have to buy her a whole new wardrobe. Don't you think before she made that vow, she should have asked me, as her father, who is buying her all new silk wardrobe, or her husband? So, of course, a marriage contract takes place, and the woman is really, it's for her protection, and he's telling her that he's going to take care of her. So if someone's taking care of you, don't you think that you should go to the person taking care of you first before you decide to go on an all-spelt diet? You can't get it in town. You have to go all the way to Lakewood or wherever to buy special, kosher, sifted, spelt flour, right? You hear what I'm saying? So this is what he says. Ein koach biyada lasot gedolo ketana bilti haskamatam. She can't do anything great or small without at least getting the permission or the agreement of someone who she's financially dependent on. V'domakilu hisnu b'shas haneder. It's as if, try to imagine, as if at the moment she makes the oath, there's already a condition, binding, that they have to agree, the husband or the father. Remember, the Torah says it, okay? So we're explaining it. So don't shoot the messenger, okay? Because she'ena maskimi, and where they don't agree, az lemafreya batel haneder mikaro. So if they don't agree, the vow that she made is null and void and worthless. Because it was conditioned in her mind, even if it was, what do you call, subconsciously. She understood. Ki mistama al datam nidra. Because she understood that it was on their agreement that the vow would be, because who else is paying for the whatever it is she's asking for? Okay, nidra al datam, right? That as if the vow was with their agreement and they knew about it. Al kain kol ish mi Yisrael. Ready? This is the whammer, guys. Every Jew, male, we're especially talking about male, but every Jew is within the authority, under the authority of the court. That's easy. Once you swallow this, then you get it, right? The court is, and that's why, think about even converts. They come, they have to go through the Beis Din. The Beis Din is God's representative on earth. They're our representative. All the Klal Yisrael, you can't get 13 million people to welcome you. It would take a long time to go through the whole line. We all shake your hand, right? It would take a long time. No, so we send representatives. The 3 representatives welcome you. They accept you. So too here you have the Beis Din on earth. They're accepting. So they're actually, when we make our oaths, we're under their authority. We can't do anything without their permission either. And even more so when a woman gets married, she says, I'm agreeing, right? The whole marriage ceremony is done al das, the laws of Moses and Israel. It's not just the law of Moses, it's the law of Moses and Israel. All the different customs that have been accumulated and laws that have been accumulated since the revelation of Mount Sinai. So you get it? That's the Beis Din. So everybody's under the law of the Beis Din, right? The Beis Din says, today we're going to fast. We all have to fast. They say, you know what? We don't like the cartel. Fish is too expensive. We're going to say you don't have to eat fish anymore. Let's bring the price down, right? It's forbidden to sell fish or buy fish or whatever. I mean, the Beis Din has authority. The Jewish court has authority. That's not right? In fact, I heard that in America they were nominating a new Supreme Court judge. So there's authority, right? They claim that the whole Constitution wouldn't work without them. Okay? So the way Israel works, right? God says, have a Sanhedrin, right? Whenever you have a doubt, go up to the place I chose and go and ask them. Whatever they say you should do. If they tell you to go left, go left. Go right, go right. You have to follow them. That's what the verse says. Guys, you're familiar with the Torah. Okay, I know I skipped something. So any one of us, not just the females with their husbands and their fathers, but any one of us makes a vow, it's with the permission of the authority of the Beis Din. They have to agree too. And if they don't agree, it's uprooted. And now we understand part of the mechanism. You go before the Beis Din, you can understand how it works. If they don't agree, the kol yachid mumcha nikra Beis Din. Any individual professional judge, that he himself, the one judge, is called a Beis Din. That's all you need. And kol shlosha hediotot. But 3 familiar people, 3 regular people, that's a Beis Din. Al kem biyodam lahatir nidro limano minachet. And it's within their ability. Think, oh my God, it's amazing. Ready, guys? You got to be putting on your seatbelts. It's within their ability to release you from your sin, to prevent you from doing a sin. Right? The guy, he decides after he saw the Beis Din, he's gonna have that spaghetti with the cheese. 10 minutes ago, it was forbidden from the Torah. And now he's going out, he's got this desire, it's totally permissible. They saved him from sin. Ki kol noider nikra choyte. Ready for this? In Deuteronomy, we did this already, 23:23. Right? Everyone who makes a neder is called a sinner. As it says in Deuteronomy 23:23, all who refrain from oaths, from vows, there will not be sin in him. Okay. Umasha ba'al va'al b'loshen hafara. Right? Hafara is a annulment. V'chacham, but where it comes to the sages, it's just the language of lahatir, which is hatara, which is a release. It just so happens to be, coincidentally, not every woman, right? Just married women and young women who aren't married. Because since a woman is more within the authority, under the authority of her husband or her father, than what a regular Jew is under the Beis Din. So you have a little difference. Keep this in mind. There's an annulment, Shabbos, and there's an annulment, and there's a release. Al kain hema b'loshen hamoire al bitol haneder mikara. That's why by the father and the husband, the language reflects a release, not a release, a negation of the vow from its very origins. Kiluloya sham neder klal, as if the neder never even took place. But the language of release reflects something. It reflects something that was permissible, was forbidden upon someone once from the very beginning, for at least a period of time, and that forbidden thing became permissible. In other words, when the father, the husband, releases the vow, it's because it never happened. Remember, it's the moment, it says in the Torah, the day they hear it. It never took effect. Whereas a regular guy goes to the Beis Din, he's getting released because it took effect, and now he wants to be released from it. And you see the difference. Hafara, annul, as if it never took place, and hetara is a releasing. Fine. Okay, anyway, the bottom line, it always comes down to charata. Charata is regret, and if you have regret, it's a great opportunity for tshuva, for repentance, and to change your ways, and become a new person, and be truly born again. There you go.